Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump, this is hilarious. Well, it's not hilarious. The subject matter is serious. This is very interesting. So our wonderful Vice President, Kamala Harris, about a week ago or a week and a half ago, said, well, I haven't visited Europe, so why are people asking me to visit the southern geographic region of our country? I don't know, when it becomes against guidelines or when it's okay with guidelines to use the actual word, but it's the southern geographic region of our country where facilities are now 16 times capacity. Okay? Worse than at any point during President Trump's administration. Fact. Now, I was against the separation, and Trump ended that policy, but I was against when it took place. That was horrendous. But you look, 16 times capacity, CBS News. This is happening under Democratic watch. So all the wonderful, morally superior liberals that just preached and pontificated and said, Trump, he's cruel. He's so cruel. He's so cruel. They are just as cruel, if not more, if you want to use that word. But what happens with them is they have to look into the mirror and say every morning, just like the old SNL skit, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, I'm moral enough. And every impoverished person and every person facing, an uphill climb, and you could pick the topic, loves me. And they just want to feel morally superior. They didn't like Trump, not so much because of his policies, because you can see right now, our beloved vice president hasn't even visited that region. And the only reason she is because Trump is visiting it, and the facilities are overrun. Worse, the facilities that AOC that likened to a time period she should never again speak about, and I wrote about that in the Jerusalem Post. You can read my op-ed on hagoodman.com. If you want to support my voice, ladies and gentlemen, my Patreon is below in the description section and also on hagoodman.com. But Yad Vashem in Jerusalem refuted AOC's distorted warped historical claims. Okay? Truly revisionist viewpoints. Now AOC and others aren't talking about this. I'm not sure the wonderful Mr. Cedar is talking about this. They only cared about the crisis in the southern geographic region of our country because it suited them. President Obama presided over worse than anything that happened during Trump's administration pertaining to this issue, and you can look at the Senate report. The Senate report that you definitely can't talk about that on YouTube because it involves, New York Magazine talked about it. It involves real, horrendous atrocities. And so this is an example of Democrats being shamed into actually not even living up to their alleged value system and their lofty ideals, but being shamed into actually visiting a crisis that's under their watch. I remember there was this video by Keith Olbermann, one of the great intellects of our time, along with Mr. Cedar and other wonderful, morally superior, oftentimes apoplectic liberals who are just fantastic people who really care when it suits them politically. But he said, what do you expect us to do? He was talking about the crisis unfolding during President Biden's administration. Well, we expect you to address the issues that you complained about during Trump's administration. Or maybe you just complained about them and brought them up and screeched and hollered and moaned and cried only because it suited you. Just like when you presided over the worst outcomes in terms of the pandemic and have the highest unemployment rates in Democratic-run states. I did a segment on that on H.A. Goodman's other channel. Check that out. It's below in the pinned comment. But President Trump also got Californians, or he got the 1.7 million signatures needed. And it's a huge, huge victory for him. 1.7 million signatures needed to begin the recall process. And you're going to have, hopefully very soon, Newsom recalled, which is very interesting because here's a man just like Whitmer who flaunted or who flouted and didn't even address or didn't even abide by his own protocol and science-based draconian policies. I mean, talking about the definition of hypocrisy. They bring up per capita rates of other countries compared to ours, and we have New Jersey, God bless the people of New Jersey, but Phil Murphy and Andrew Cuomo of New York have the two highest per capita rates, and they have the worst governors of all time, especially Cuomo. Phil Murphy might be just as bad, maybe worse, who knows? Whitmer has been horrible when it comes to the pandemic. They preach and pontificate the most, and yet they preside over the worst outcomes. And here's a chance, ladies and gentlemen, like these things didn't happen. With Trump, he said the same things that Kamala Harris said. He said, don't come. Trump said, don't come. And then it was cruel. Kamala Harris says, don't come. We're disappointed that you said the exact same thing as Trump. The exact same thing. You couldn't get, my God almighty, the hypocrisy. My God, do you understand? They have no concept of duplicity. Being disingenuous, I mean, you saw that with H3 and Cedar, and being disingenuous and duplicitous, deceitful, that's like part of what they view as like political power. And then they can pontificate and preach, prop up AOC and Bernie Sanders to promise a lot of things to left-leaning voters and funnel them back into the Democratic Party. It is a racket. You have an outraged public relations machine. The second that whole public relations stunt with Ethan at H3 and Cedar, 5 hit pieces on Crowder, 5 were published. Oh yeah, he was mortified. Then today there was a slow news day on trying to get Trump, so the Daily Beast came out with 2 people familiar with the story that he was trying to go after Saturday Night Live. That's not journalism. That is not 2 people familiar. This is not some kind of like a source that, you know, the Watergate source, for example, helped take down a presidency. It was a huge story. This is not that. 2 people familiar with the matter is basically 2 Democrats who could just go ahead and talk to a Daily Beast journalist, and then they publish it. Then 5 other publications publish similar stories. Then Jimmy Kimmel comes out with an indignant response. And then they've created and fabricated a story based on indignation. And then they can pontificate. The left is not about ideas. It's about pontificating. You understand, if the Democratic Party didn't have every conceivable possible advantage, every advantage, they wouldn't even be a political party because they don't really stand, there's nothing that they really stand for. They're maybe to the left of Republicans on major issues. Foreign policy, they're to the right. They're hawkish with the Lincoln Project and Bill Kristol and President and Biden not even abiding by President Trump's May 1st, 2021 withdrawal, of our longest-running military conflict in Afghanistan. I want Americans home. That's why it was a moral imperative to vote for President Trump. But see, again, you get this, Democrats have this like Pavlovian response. You say climate change, anything goes. You say science, anything goes. That was actually the debate. Just to believe anything except when our vice president during the debate said, I'm not taking anything. I'm not getting anything that's Trump's presiding over. Okay. So you could be anti-science then when it's Trump. They have no value system. Do you understand? They have no value system. It's just whatever. This is why it would be so easy to debate Sam Cedar. Anything that's detrimental to the Democratic Party and objectively wrong and immoral, he would defend. Anything. It could be Hunter Biden's use of the N-word. And Cedar would probably defend that. I don't know. I assume that he wouldn't. But who knows? You're talking about like people who are not just only brainwashed, but their lives revolve around a political party. If it's Tulsi Gabbard versus Marco Rubio, I'm voting for Tulsi Gabbard. If it's Trump versus Clinton or Trump versus Biden, I'm voting for Trump. I'm voting for anyone who wants to limit American foreign policy, bring Americans home. That's my main, like, they use the word empire, like the far left. It's like, well, it was President Obama who destroyed Libya. I would love to get Cedar's take on that. Like, he's running from me. Okay? That's the way it goes in this day and age. Okay? So, according to the rules of the left, I've already won. My God, oh, I'm so happy. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe.